Hey guys, BJ the Brave back with an end of season review. We're going to have a look at what the top decks were that I used and what the win rates were, and just talk about what my approach was to the season. This will hopefully help you with navigating the Warpforge ladder system. You can see here we did finish in the top 10. We managed to sneak in there right towards the end and hold off that that final place. So top 10 means we should get the silver card back. So let's click on here and have a look. Oh, and there it is. Very nice, very nice. Interesting. So this is the sort of GSC spin on it. Nice. Okay, I like it. Okay, cool. So, the thing I was most looking forward to seeing was this. 8,000 crystals, in desperate need for crystals at the minute. Alright, so let's take a little look. So the first thing to say is that my approach to this season, anyone who watched last season's video knows that I said I was a bit inefficient. So I was much more efficient this season, right? I actually played fewer games than I did last season. But you've got to remember this season as well. Sorry, just to finish that point, what I mean by that is I really did try to just stick to the 4 factions that I was really pushing. So let's take a look at this season in context, right? Obviously, we started out the season, we had quite a late balance patch. That meant we were still stuck in that horrible meta from last season, which had the busted Sisters of Battle decks, the Junith, the Erika, and also had the busted Azrael teleport deck. Now, what I did to start with is I actually played a fair bit of Asmodai to start with, and as you will be able to see in just a second, yeah, here we go. Yeah, so what I actually did here is I actually played this just Asmodai like mid-range build, but I was just waiting for the patch and I just played this, and as you can see I kind of got like a 68% win rate with it. I mean, it was okay and everything, but then post-patch we switched it up and we went on to some other decks, which I'll show you in a second. But basically, we finished up with this here. This is the one I was trying to show you. Yeah, so this was the kind of final scores on the doors. We played Chaos, which was Sylar through and through. We got 3-4-8-1. We also got 3-4-8-1 with Genestealers, which we played a variety of decks, but mainly Nexus combo. I'll show you some more on that. We played Gordrang, probably the least, actually, so I got a pretty good win rate with Gordrang, because I didn't play as many games. It was my 4th faction that I decided to climb with. But I quite enjoyed Gordrang this season, finally cracked that style of play. And we also had a lot of Dark Angel games, which obviously after the patch landed, they got hit quite hard. I think Azrael deck got hit quite hard. And I think Asmodai is just a good warlord, but not an S tier warlord, just in a like decent spot. So we managed to post 3,224 with the Dark Angels. Overall 3,361, and just managed to creep on in. Okay, so just in terms of the decks then, let's take a look. So as I said, once the new season switched, as in once the balance patch switched, I mainly played this deck, which is the Raven Wing build. I think this is, this is a really good Azrael deck if you want to kind of run something that's not overly complex, but will do decent for you. I feel like this deck's like somewhere around tier 2. Pretty nicely positioned. Can obviously get some nice benefits from secrets and things like that, but this has a bit of a decent curve. So even without secrets, you know, you're curving into like things like Samael, Repulsor, and the Dreadnoughts as well. So it's kind of got pretty good late game, pretty good curve really the whole way through. Now towards the end, I did actually play this Ultra Miracle version, which was this. I'm still tinkering with this. I've had the 1-drop spells in there, and kind of this version I've just kind of dropped that, but I don't know which is better. But I only started playing this towards the end of the season, and it did really well. For those of you who haven't yet seen, go back and watch my Battle of 4 Warlords video. There was some absolutely unbelievable games and hype in that video, so one of the best I've done, so go check that out for sure. And that featured this deck and it did very well, so spoiler alert, go check that out. This deck basically, the idea is that it just draws so much and has so many early drops that the enemy warlord basically ends up trying to deal with them, and it kind of is almost like a health save for Asmodai himself. So you make it into the late game, and I found that this version just tips turns that corner where all the secrets start coming through better than pretty much any version I've ever done before, to be honest. I also thought that the Reavers were quite good. There was a lot of Chaos being played, a lot of Gordrang being played towards the end. And this card's actually very good against those, and Swarmlord, right, with the 3 melee, the camouflage, so it can't be hit by things like the, what do you call them, things like, trying to say, you know, like the 2-drop spells and stuff like that, basically. But the other thing as well is obviously it plays into our strategy of if it does get a slay off, basically being able to draw a card is absolutely huge. And that also includes hitting things like remnants or stones, which are just a free way of getting that to go off. So yeah, I really like this deck, and if I do play Dark Angels this season, this is probably the deck I'm going to be going with. So in terms of the win rates with the Dark Angels, as I say, after the patch, this was the win rate. I ended up with about a 77% win rate, 36 games played, 28 and 8, and as you can see, probably Asmodai Mirrors and Sylar was the hardest matches really for it. But overall, we did pretty well with that deck. Okay, so next up we had GSC. Now, GSC were all over the place. At the start of the season, then we had the balance patch. So it's like, how does GSC do in the balance patch? Well, it did better because it got some buffs, and its main nemesis, which was Sisters, got nerfed. So GSC immediately got better. Then, of course, the reinforcement drop came out. So GSC just went from strength to strength to strength. And now I feel like you know, Genestealers are a tier one right now. Now, I played a range of Genestealer decks because of all those changes. Now, I still feel with the new cards, we're not quite there yet in terms of knowing what the absolute best is going to be. I feel like Zanari is pretty good. I definitely played around and built a few different Zanari builds. But I think that I'm still enjoying Sappho the most. And I played a little bit of this kind of like sabotage Sappho approach, and this deck felt very strong. However, I've not played it, and I think it might have weakened slightly or need some updating since the brand new cards got released after the reinforcement raid that we had. Now that all the cards are available, it might need a little bit more updating, but this deck was doing quite well. But the deck that I played the most with, to be honest, was the combo Nexus, and I've just updated it here to stick in 2 more of the 1-drop spells, because this deck just loves 1-drop spells, and it also means it's more consistent in drawing things like Perfect Ambush, in drawing things like your Nexus. So yeah, overall, this proved to be a very strong deck for me. I would rate this as hard or difficult on the difficulty scale. It's not an easy deck to play, but its power level is through the roof. It's also pretty good against the more slower sabotage decks. I won a lot against Genestealer mirrors with this deck. So yeah, let's take a little look at some stats with the Genestealers. So first of all, we had the Nexus combo. Played a lot of games with this, guys. You can see we got the 93 games, 69 wins, 24 losses, 74.19% win rate with this. There was that old version that Strigma had, which had a couple of icon bearers in. I played a few games with that, and that was about 75% as well, so it wasn't much different. So around 75% is probably where this deck sits, which is good. It's very good. Obviously, at those absolute higher levels, like top 10, you really want to be pushing over 80% to be able to climb anywhere near efficiently. So just below that, but overall, very good deck. And the sabotage deck that I talked about, I played, you can see here, it's 20 games with that, and that had an 85% win rate. So that was doing very well, but it is a smaller sample size, and like I said, I haven't played that. Was mainly played before the reinforcement raid ended as well. All right, so next up we had Gordrang, and this was the Gordrang deck that I ran with. I'm very happy with this deck. I felt like this deck was super refined. The only question in here is the Stormboy. The Stormboy is really bad against like Dark Angels, but it's really good against Genestealers. Or, well, not so good against Zanari, but the other ones it's pretty good against. It counters things like Locuses and stuff really well. So I feel like you don't have to run the Storm Boy. I mean, obviously you could put a second Bomb Squig in. You've definitely got options. You could put the Commando in. Yeah, so there's definitely options there. A second Gretchen mob. But I ran with the Storm Boy, did okay, and the rest of the deck was just superb. Like, finally getting my head around this kind of gym boss style approach where you just really rely on his ability and you protect him with armor when you need, you use removal when you need. And the deck was absolute fire. Really enjoyed the double one drops. I definitely have realised that the attack squigs and the grot bombs are both in for me because they play into what we're trying to do, which is beat down with this deck. And let's take a look at the stats with Gordrang. So Gordrang managed to get an 81.82, so 82% essentially win rate, which is pretty good going. We only played 44 games and we got 36 and 8 record, so that is very, very good indeed. Sylar was we got 3 losses from Sylar, but we actually got 5 wins, so it did, you know, it's really competitive even with like Sylar. Overall, I felt like this deck was just fire, really, just like really powerful. Yeah, it felt strong into the meta, really. I mean, Jane Zar, we lost 1 to Jane, and we only played 2. I feel like that's a tough match, Jane Zar. I think if we'd had a bigger play sample there, we'd probably be on a losing streak against Jane Zar. But other than that, the deck just felt really good. I think Gordrang's in a really strong position, especially this type of deck, right? Like this super sort of fast build. I feel like it's in a very good position indeed. And so last but not least, what haven't we talked about? Oh yes, Sylar. So this is the Sylar deck. Honestly, guys, like this is the best deck in the game at the minute for overall. Like, you know, like easy, the ease to play, the consistency of it. I did tinker a little bit in the middle of the season. I tried the Bringer of Decays instead of the Sorcerers, but I ended up ultimately just going back to the version that Buggy posted very early in the season. Buggy went on to get the top score in Chaos. He got like 4,350 or something MMR, something ridiculous. Like, this deck is absolute fire, guys. It's super powerful. You know, struggles. You could have a close match with some Sappher builds, but then what we realised is what you want to do is take the Dark Pact as your defense card and just buff the Noise Marine to camo on turn 3, and the Sappher can't really deal with that. So we've kind of found a way in our alliance to kind of even counter that. And this deck is just, yeah, it's just super powerful. I think the Sorcerer is better, actually, as in a tempo deck than the Bringer. I mean, obviously the Bringer Decay is really good in terms of comboing with Traitors here. That's the only position or situation where you'd rather have Bringer, I feel. In almost every other situation, the Sorcerer's good. Like 6 range attack, guys, for 5. Like, that trading up stat is super powerful, and it covers a position for Chaos in particular where they can be a little bit weak sometimes to range attack, but when we're running things like Sorcerers and Chosens, we're not too, and Venom Crawlers, we're not actually too bad and too vulnerable in the range attack. And also Sorcerer means that the randomness of our hero power is less random, because if we can generate 2 a turn, that's super powerful, and obviously we can get those discounted from our next drop, which is the Venom Crawler. So this deck's just fire. You build the board, you control the board, and then you end up setting up a huge reach for a finisher with Murderous Desire, and that can come off of a hidden Warp Talon. This card's too good for 4 energy. It probably should only be 5 melee. It's just a bit busted. Compare this to like some of the Tyrannid ones that have been hit recently. It's so powerful, and especially when you've got cards like Murderous Desires in there. So yeah, overall this deck was just fire. And if I show you my stats quickly with Sylar, we did play a 65 games. We got 57 wins and 8 losses, so an 87.6, which is an 88% rounding up win rate, which is unbelievable, and definitely like I say, a super powerful tier 1 deck at the minute. Yeah. Overall, good matchups across the board. Lost 3 games to Sonari, but we did win 6. So yeah, overall, you can't really go wrong with Sylar for sure. So yeah, overall, guys, I would say I'm much more happy with my season. I feel like I played this season a little bit more efficiently, and I think it was just generally a much better season, right? Like, just so much more fun. That meta last season was very binary, whereas this season a lot of decks have managed to post a pretty good score. I'm not sure what I want to do for next season yet, which for factions I want to do. Obviously, we're hoping to get a roadmap and a balance patch, so that will affect things. But I definitely think my strategy was better, which is to just focus on one deck in the first week, and kind of see how the lay of the land flows. I think I'll probably do that. I have considered maybe just not going for top 10, just going for like an off, like 4 off meta warlords and seeing how well I can do with that. See if I can get top 50. So a few ideas, but I'm not set yet. Just yet. But anyway, I hope that was helpful, guys. Hope you, if you want looking for some good decks to carry on forward, hopefully that has helped. And yeah, I'll look forward. Thank you so much for all the support, and look forward to providing some more content this month. Take it easy, guys.